My fellow film activists, your wellness coach, Cathy is here, and we're going to have an extra today, so no PQ reps. We are going to talk about somewhat of a part two from yesterday's VPN extra. Today's extra is going to be about how you can protect yourself legally, okay? So I kind of alluded to a service that I have, and I wanted to share it with you, but I'm going to do so in the form of just a screen share. Now, I have had a wonderful service, a legal service, and it is filled with different benefits. But what's wonderful is I've had it since 2008. And so since 2008, I would like to think that that was my first attempt at really understanding the power of our legal system here in the United States. So it's very broken, yes, but this is an actual equalizer to the brokenness. And so it put me in a situation where I felt finally that yes, I might be vertically challenged. I'm at the most maybe 5'2" if I'm lucky. um, height wise, right? 5 feet 2 inches. And with this membership, this legal services membership, I felt finally that no one could bully me. Okay. Like this was about me feeling like I was 6 feet tall. Okay. And knowing my rights. Now, most of us don't really know all our rights. Why? Because hello, we don't study law. And that's why we have lawyers. Okay. So here's the fun little quote to remember, the mantra: lawyers need lawyers too. All right. So whenever you're in a quandrum about something, right? Believe it or not, lawyers seek out lawyers. Okay. They don't have the answers to everything. And there's like over 60, probably more now, closer to, I'm thinking 80 different subjects of law. So just like in the medical field, you have different specialists, right? Who, you have a gastrologist, you have an anesthesiologist, you have a cardiac, like every part of our body, right, has a specialization in medicine. And so a doctor who's a medical doctor, right, an MD, can then branch off. Okay, so they have their journalist, their general 4 years of learning about how to be a medical doctor. And then they go and they specialize, right? So then they have residencies and blah, blah, blah. What I'm getting at is the law, okay, is pretty much like the medical profession in the fact that you have specialists, you have real estate law, you have estate planning. And I can honestly tell you that the only difference between the two industries is obviously what the subject matter is, because they all have specializations within them. Okay. And so, again, I have a wonderful friend. She is a and juvenile, family and juvenile law lawyer. She doesn't delve into, like, she knows about estate planning, but she's not an expert at it. Right. She could give you some general advice, but she's not going to say, oh, you should do it this way. No, she's going to tell you, no, go to a estate planning lawyer. If I had any questions, okay, about real estate. In general, I can maybe get a few answers from just a generalist type lawyer, but guess what? They're going to say, guess what? That's not my expertise. I'm going to refer you to this person. So this service, okay, is awesome because you have all the subjects of law incorporated into this system. It's a proprietary system of law firms all over the nation and 5 provinces of Canada. So you are covered wherever you are at. Okay. And that's important, especially right now, because you have to remember we're dealing with federal stupidity right now. All right. Our federal system is going crazy. Although the courts, for the most part, thank you to the higher powers, at least on the federal level, in some way, shape, or form, are actually the ones still holding our democracy together. It's like there is fascism. Let's not kid ourselves. We're in fascism. We're in the beginning of fascism. And fascism is weakest at the beginning and at the end. And so we're at the beginning, which means we can stop it. Now, more than ever, you as a citizen of the US, okay, really need to understand what your rights are at any given time. And this service, believe it or not, can give you that 24/7, 365 in the form of an app. So my mobile app, which I'm not going to, again, show you the actual app, I'm just going to show you a really quick screenshot. of what I took, because in the last, yeah, it was just in the last few days, and you're going to see that I had three different type of questions. And I was like, oh, you know what? I should probably call the law firm. So each state has their own provider law firm, not one lawyer, not, we're talking a whole law firm. And these law firms are the best of the best. Okay. It's not a paralegal. It's not a legal intern. It's not a student of law. No, these are actual board certified, bar certified, I should say, right? Lawyers. Like they've passed the bar in their state, in multiple states, maybe. They actually have been practicing for at least 3 years, or between 2 and 3 years, I recall. But these are experts in their particular subject of law as well. So, with that said, this is why I want to share this with you, because it's so important. Again, this week has been interesting, okay, in the fact that at any given time, I don't even, so this is what I'm getting at is I had 3 intakes with my law firm just in this week alone. And interesting enough, okay, there are days, sometimes even months, that I don't call the law firm. And in this case, it just turned out that this week I was like, wow, I have a lot of stuff coming up I need to get answers on. So I want to show you what I'm talking about. So, but before I do that, even again, in the description, you'll see my website and you can find out more about the services. And I'm happy to talk to you again after you listen to this, and then we can get in contact. I'm going to share my screen. And what I'm showing you is, again, a screenshot. So this was actually on my phone. Okay. I was using my phone because the services have a mobile app, right? So this half, the left half here, okay, was taken in the app. The screenshot was taken in the app. And you can tell right here, you have home, requests, call my law firm. I can actually call the law firm from the app. And then I had these notifications, okay? So you can see here, I had messages in the inbox, and then I had notifications. So you're looking at what is part of the notifications part. So on May 12th, okay, so just 3 days ago, all right, within just 5 minutes of each other, okay, I took my app for the legal services, and I'm like, gosh, I have these 2 questions. Everything with this service starts with a question, okay? I have a question on ... So I had 2 questions. In this case, it was consumer matters, okay? And then the second one was estate planning. So in less than 10 minutes, I got on the app for the legal services, and I created these 2 intakes. This is what we call intakes. And like I say here, 3 different intakes in 24 hours. And it was at no extra cost to me. This is part of the service. And it was all done on my mobile app. So so what, the 12th was Monday, right? I believe, right. And so I had these 2 questions, and it was early in the morning. So I went ahead and I made the request, and then it goes through the app, and then so the neat part is that you will get a call back at least within 8 business hours. So obviously, if you call, because the law firms don't work, beyond their regular times if it's not an emergency, and that's something I'll get to. But what I'm getting at here is that if it's just a question you have, there's nothing, emergency like about the situation you're in, you're obviously going to be called back after you connect with the law firm and send your intake within 8 business hours. But if you call at, say, 4:30, right, whatever time zone you're in, you can't really expect them to get back to you within half an hour. Now, it has happened, all right, but that's unusual. What I'm getting at is that I made these 2 different intakes at the beginning of the day. Okay, so it was probably before, honestly, it was definitely before 9 a.m., before the law firm would have opened. And I wasn't really expecting, again, it wasn't like it was a big emergency. I just said, okay, I have these questions on May 12th, and I want to get an answer. So at 11:51, so right before noon, okay, no, I'm sorry, that was for May 13th, sorry. But May 12th, I actually got a call back, and it was probably within It was definitely within 4 hours, if not sooner. Okay. So again, you have 8 business hours that they're going to get back to you. That's like their qualified time that they get to get back to you. I remember that the law firm called me, one of the lawyers, okay, pertaining to this intake, okay, called. And then, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that the next lawyer called me the next day, but I can't be totally, I can't remember. What I'm getting at is that on May 2nd, May 12th, sorry, I made 2 intakes or created 2 intakes. Within, again, within 4 hours, I had already gotten a call back from this one at least, and I'm pretty sure I did get the second one on that same day. Then on May 13th, okay, so May 13th, I make this, and it's another consumer matter, okay, but I made this third, okay, so third intake. And because it was separate, right, it's not the same as that one. So I had to make a new intake, or I got to create a new intake. So I made it on May 13th, again, in the morning. So it was probably definitely before 8, I remember. By noon, okay, so May 13th, so I make the intake. Before noon, okay, on the 13th, I had already gotten a text saying that my law firm, okay, the lawyer from my law firm was getting ready to call me back. And they do that, they notify you via text because they want to make sure that you answer your phone. This is a proprietary system. Okay, so the actual service provided by the law firms, it's obviously law firms providing the legal part of it, but there is a whole proprietary system, and it's not the law firms that own that system. It is a different third party. Okay, so all of this phenomenal technology, yeah, that's not actually the law firm's proprietary system. It is, again, a third party. So the wonderful thing about this is then again, I never had to step out anywhere. I could have called again my law firm had I wanted to create the intake, but I didn't. I just went into the app, made these intakes, and then I was notified soon enough via text. Oh, by the way, and email. They send you an email as well. Your law firm is going to call you soon. All right. In most cases, when they send this, it's very shortly thereafter. We're talking like instantaneous almost that call is going to come to you. And they want you, again, to be notified because the number, you may not know it. Okay. It might come up as unknown. It is a private number in most cases. And it might show unknown. It might show unknown number. It won't show spam. But again, you're not always going to answer a number you don't recognize, right? So this was my week. Now, have I been freaked out? Again, these matters weren't emergencies, but I still want answers to them. And the best part, even still, other than the fact that I never had to leave my home to do any of this, I didn't have to be on the phone for hours, is the wonderful part is that I can make as many intakes as I absolutely need. So I could have, the most intakes I've made in a day has actually been 5. I have, in fact, on one particular day, created 5 intakes. Now, I don't necessarily recommend that, but you can do it. And I can't remember why. It just so happened that on that day, there was a lot going on apparently, and I decided I'm going to make 5 different intakes, and I did. So there's no amount or there's no set amount that you can have of intakes per day. Now, what will happen, of course, is sometimes maybe intakes or your questions might actually merge with other intakes that you might have made. But overall, the system works so well that 90% of why you have this monthly membership, because it's a monthly membership, they are so confident that you will keep this, that all they really rely on of people keeping the service is, again, 90% of why people have the service, like me, is so that I can ask questions. How expensive is it for you, okay, to call a lawyer? Again, I'm not talking about your spouse who's a lawyer, because I bet you one thing. You ask your spouse about a certain subject of law that they do not understand or they're not familiar with, they can't help you, even if they wanted to. So in my case, I know lots of lawyers. They're my friends. I love them. And I never ask them for help with legal issues. Why? Because I know what their subject of expertise is. And in a lot of times, it has nothing to do with my question. So I'm not going to bother them needlessly. And I'm certainly not going to try to take free advice when they should be paid handsomely for all the work that they did to get those licenses to practice law. Same with medical doctors, same with like whomever license you have received out of a lot of hard work, you definitely should be compensated for that. In my case, again, I have tons of friends who are lawyers and I love them, but I'm not ever going to bother them on matters of law. Why? Because one, they don't need to know my business. And two, they probably don't even understand the situation, or at least they don't have the expertise that I require. Okay. This service has saved me so much in terms of time, number one, which no one thinks. Everyone will say, oh, it saves you, time and money. And people will automatically think, oh, money is really important. Guess what? Your time, right now, more than ever, our time is beyond precious. Now, it's always been my first and most important resource. Hello, it's not a commodity. Time is precious. And it is finite for us humans, no matter what you believe. Okay. Your time here on earth is finite. And so, whatever time I can save and make it more pleasurable for myself, to make it more meaningful, to, like to actually enjoy life, to be happy, that's what matters to me. So, this service absolutely makes it possible for me to be more happy, to actually experience life with less worry. That's why I love it so much. Again, at some point, and I forget when it was, I made 5 intakes in one day. Why? Because I could. I didn't have to worry about anyone saying, oh, I'm going to charge you $50 an hour, which nowadays is more like $400 an hour just to talk to someone. Okay. Not even tell you any resolution, just to talk to them. It can be up to upwards of $400. Okay. But I wanted to bring it home to you how important legal services is. I'm a wellness coach. Okay. But I actually, right, my first business was with this company, meaning I do get compensated for sharing it. All right. When someone decides to get the services through my website, yeah, I get compensated and I'm totally okay with that. What I want people to know though is that the reason why I've kept it, because you don't have to be a member and market it. No. You can just be a member, and most people are. Only maybe at the most 30% of people who are members like me are actually those who actually market as well. No, most people are just members and they just keep the membership for years and years and years. Because why? Because it saves them time. It saves them money. Okay. Every single year, I could tell you how much money I have saved because of the intakes that I have sent to my law firm and the outcomes of those intakes. Sometimes they can write a letter on my behalf. Maybe they need to actually talk to the vendor that I'm having issues with. Who knows? But I can tell you right now, just the estate planning alone, when you can get your estate planning completed as part of the membership, you have already saved yourself. And if you have a spouse, let's say, you have now saved yourself literally over $3,000. Why? Because just to get a will is expensive. Now you can say, oh, I'm going to go to LegalZoom. I'm going to go to, just wherever you can say that it's almost free. Well, guess what? In the fine print in the bottom of all those different documents online, it will say this should be reviewed by a lawyer. So again, yes, you can get a lot of things one-offs and maybe not pay for it, or at least have it notarized and it'll be good to go. But guess what? Is it exactly what you require? And is it going to serve you the best? I know that every year with this service, I can get my will updated, my whole estate planning. Okay. I can get all that done. Now, when I say everything, that's including a will, just a regular will. It's including a health directive, a healthcare directive, a living will. A living will is not a living trust. Okay. A living will is more about like, do you want to be left on a machine if you become incapacitated? And then power of attorneys. Okay. So a durable power of attorney, and then the medical power of attorney, which is your health directive. So within those confines of estate planning, that estate planning can be updated every year if necessary, and it's part of the membership. Awesome. I just updated my will last year, and guess what? I may get to update it again. Not for anything, thank goodness, out of the ordinary, but I can and I will. And it will be so easy because all I have to do is send in the will questionnaire via my app if I want and say, okay, these changes get to be made. And then guess what? Within 10 business days, I will have the actual papers in my hand, and all I have to do is pay to get them notarized, right? Any formal document like a will and so forth, estate planning gets to be notarized, right? You get to pay for that, okay? Because you can only do so much for a certain amount of membership dollars. But I wanted to bring this very wonderful service to you because one, it will save you time. And right now, we all need a lot of time for self-care, more importantly, but for two, so that we can unfortunately use whatever free time we might have used for ourselves, right? Beyond self-care, is now be taken up trying to stop fascism. And we will stop fascism. It's going to end. What we have left of democracy, we're going to have to rebuild. We already know that. But any time and any money we can save, especially as the S is going to hit the fan, right? As the months go on, when this stupidity, with all the stuff going on, we get to utilize our resources as well as possible, right? We get to be frugal if necessary. We get to really itemize what we want in our sphere, right, of influence, in our sphere of environment, meaning like what are we going to spend our resources on? Okay. And this service is one that I will never get rid of. I will even get rid of healthcare. Why? Because this can help me if in fact the healthcare system tries to screw me, which is getting more and more obvious these days. So please, please, please understand that this service can help you. It can help your family. It can help your business if you're a business owner. It can help your organization. Okay, if it's a profit-seeking organization, say a small business, right? You can, as a small business, get the services. As a solo business owner, you can. There's I have what's called a personal plan, a personal legal plan, but it also has a rider on it for my businesses. Okay. So there are all sorts of ways that you can cover not just yourself, your family, and then let's say your business, but there's a way to make sure that everyone is in this umbrella of coverage. And it's remarkable how relieved you will feel on a daily basis. So please go to my website, check it out, and then go ahead and get in contact with me, and I'll be happy to help you. Decide if it's for you. I know it is, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. I really want you to, again, understand how important it is to have 24/7, 365 legal services. If it's not an emergency, you would go through the process that I did with the app. Send in an intake, and then you would wait for 8 business hours. If it were an emergency though, because remember I just said 24/7, 365. If there's an emergency and I have used that emergency number, guess what? I can also, on a holiday, middle of the night, I can actually get a hold of a lawyer. Why? Because when DES is at my door, if ICE, freaking ICE, is trying to do harm to people I know and they're in my home or whatnot, again, I know that I can pick up, use the mobile app, get in connection with an actual lawyer and tell them, hello, I need to know my rights because this is happening. And guess what? You can actually have the lawyer on the phone talking to the opposition. That is power. If you only got the service and never used it, but had it for that one reason, that alone is worth the monthly fee. Okay. Your membership is priceless, honestly. So again, let me know any questions and I'll be happy to answer them. With that, I expect to hear a lot of people in my DMs, and we look forward to talking to you about the services that can help you out. Until next time, take care, take charge, God bless.